Wow. Just watched The Walking Dead, Season 10 C, Episode 19, Episode 1 more. All I can say is wow, my mind is blown. Before I start this video, I need a drink. Now in the video, they're drinking whiskey. I'm going to do a little rum here. So a slightly different drink. If you ever had Florida Cognac, you already know, but this rum is amazing. Highly recommend it. Um, First, take take a sniff, and just really appreciate the smell, and just let it all soak in. And just appreciate the taste. We'll get back to that in a second, but my goodness, my mind is absolutely blown. This episode, with brilliant, absolutely brilliant, Oscar-worthy acting from Ross Marquand, Seth Gilliam, and Robert Patrick. All I can say is wow, and this has catapulted, at least for me, into the top 10 episodes for the entire series. This episode was dark. It was very well written, well acted, just all around amazing episode. Um, but let's get in it, shall we? Now, the episode begins, and you have Ross and, well, not Ross, but you have Aaron and Father Gabriel, and they're out on sort of a mission. This kind of happened 2 weeks after the fall, the Whispers, after the big battle, and they're being sent by Maggie with a map to just try and scout some areas, see what they could find, and bring back to the community. Um, and oh my goodness, the foreshadowing in this, from two things that I two things that I've mentioned before, and one thing that I've been mentioning for a very long time, and one of them is the foreshadowing of the water tower. For those of you who read the comics, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is where Father Gabriel, at least in the comics, he is up in the water tower, and he falls and his leg is stuck, and Beta, who of course is no longer here, um, guts him with a knife, and then one of the most brutal deaths in the entire series happens, and the walkers are just eating him alive. And the other thing that's being foreshadowed is something that I've said for quite a while, is that now that the Commonwealth is here, there is the Wall of the Lost that is part of this Commonwealth. And if you caught that sneak preview that was let out by The Walking Dead on Twitter, and I'm sure the other social medias, you would have noticed that there's a little cake. It's a very short video, but you see pictures on a wall, the Wall of the Lost. And what I'm getting at is that I've always felt that Dwayne Jones was still out there. Now, that was back then when Morgan was crazy. He was ranting. He was still grieving over his wife. A lot of people agree that this is one of the best arcs in the entire series. Just very well acting by Lenny James, who is absolutely amazing, and of course Andrew Lincoln in that scene. And Lenny James had just lost his wife, and he's telling Andrew Lincoln in the episode Clear, which, by the way, this episode was as good as the acting in Clear, where you have Andrew Lincoln and Lenny James. It was absolutely amazing, and this kind of reminded me of that episode. But he's telling the story of how the Walker, his son Dwayne is surprised, and the Walker just, it jumps on Dwayne, and he just sees red. And I mean, you guys all seen that episode, absolutely amazing. But and he's telling the story how he believes that Dwayne was killed. Now, we never saw a body, and you know the rule in The Walking Dead: if you have never seen the body, you don't know if it's dead. And in Fear, you know Madison lives. But we can go back to Morales. Of course, Morales, we never saw the body, and then he showed up one day as part of the Saviors. But I digress. But I believe that Dwayne Jones is a Commonwealth guard. We saw a one of the trailers. There was, there's a guard that they focus on that I think may have been Dwayne Jones, but I think because in the comics there's a story arc where Michonne, who throughout her entire arc in the comics, just a lot of trauma, a lot of really bad stuff. She really never gets a win, and then in the end, her long lost daughter Elodie, who she had thought to have been dead, had a picture written "Have you seen my mom?" On the wall of the lost, which is where family members can see if they can find their family that's been missing, and then it's a huge win, huge moment for Michonne, and it was finally like this one great thing, one big happy, really emotional moment in the comics that happened to her. And I believe that Morgan in the TV show is kind of mirroring Michonne from the comic. They both go through a lot of loss. Of course, Morgan is always saying how everyone he loses everything, and he goes through a lot of bad stuff. Now he's on Fear the Walking Dead, but I believe there will be a crossover, and I think that Morgan will eventually come to the Commonwealth and see a picture of himself. Have you seen my dad? And I think, and only Morgan really can bring, without Michonne here on the show, I think only Morgan could really bring that emotional impact where the fans are really invested in the character, and really hit that moment home. But yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to that and why there was sort of some foreshadowing in this. But anyways, they're going through. They're walking through. They're finding. They're not really having much luck in the 2 weeks that they've been looking. And there's a moment where Father Gabriel, he falls. Well, he's actually tripped by a walker and he falls into the mud. And after killing the walker, he's talking about one more, which he's talking about the water tower, which he wants to go investigate and see what he can find over there. Foreshadowing. But anyways, our characters finally come to an abandoned warehouse, or at least that's what they believe. And in there, they're looking through, and there's this really kind of scary moment where you have Father Gabriel. Let's backtrack a little bit and go back to this drinking scene, because they're just one of my favorite scenes in there, where they're just interacting, and Father Gabriel's talking about the whiskey that he had, which was named Dwayne Jones. And that's why I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but this episode was so good and so many great points, and I'm just flabbergasted by how amazing it was. But the whiskey bottle that he had was literally Dwayne Jones. Now, that's not a real whiskey in real life, but if there is a place in the Walking Dead universe that could possibly create this whiskey, or this whiskey could be readily available, where else but the Commonwealth? Now, that doesn't mean that Dwayne Jones whiskey came from there, but it just got me thinking about that. But that's either a huge Easter egg or huge foreshadowing. For me, I'm holding out hope. I believe Dwayne Jones is going to be there. I believe Morgan's going to meet up with his son, and possibly, which is then it'll give Morgan that win, and give him that extra push to go look for Rick Grimes in the movies. But that's further down the road. But there's this moment where they're searching through the warehouse, and Aaron goes off on one way, and then Father Gabriel's in another direction, and all of a sudden you hear Aaron screaming, and it sounds blood curdling, like he's being attacked by a walker. Because right before that, you see him talking to a door, telling him he's a friend, and he's just about to go into there, and then the camera shifts over to Father Gabriel, and then all of a sudden that screaming, and I thought Aaron was in a lot of trouble back then. I thought he was getting bit. I didn't know what to think. But when we get in there, we find that Aaron had beat the hell out of a boar with his hand, And then Father Gabriel comes in and he is just laughing hysterically, which really kind of a funny scene. Um, and then they're drunk, um, and they're just having a really cool bonding moment. And these are two of my favorite characters in the series, and it was just cool to really see them have these moments. Although probably getting drunk in the apocalypse is not the best idea, but the scene shifts to the later on, and you see Aaron wake up and he goes out to take a piss, and Father Gabriel gets up and he's walking. And then he's coming down a corridor, and then all of a sudden he hears a noise and turns around, and there is the Terminator himself, Robert Patrick, and he's like, how was it, or what did you eat? And of course Father Gabriel told me I had boar, and just a wild scene. And then it eventually he brings him back into another room and he has him sitting down, and he's got an AK-47 on him, and he's like, you, and he's telling, and they're kind of debating on whether there's really good or evil, left in the world, and what's still around. And Mays, which is Robert Patrick's character's name, he's all saying that there's only evil left, and he and he's telling, like, Father Gabriel, kind of daring him, like, you think there's not bullets in this gun? He shoots off around, and he tells him that Aaron, his buddy, after bringing his arm out and just throwing it on the floor, that he's in this room next door, and he goes to get him, and he brings him out, and he's talking about, and he basically he forces him to play Russian roulette. He takes all these bullets out of a gun and leaves one in the chamber, spins it around, and tells him that I'm gonna. This is what you're gonna do. You're going to either shoot yourself or you're gonna shoot your friend, and in the midst of all this, he's telling a story about his family, how his brother attacked him, and that's why the mark on his face was there, and he just had a little bit of food left, and his twin brother, who he thought was the one person he could trust, attacked him and started eating his food. And then Robert Patrick said he took care of him, or Mays said he took care of him. And then they're going through the scene with the Russian roulette, and you see Father Gabriel and that click, and you see the reaction of it. I mean, it looked genuine, just as man, their acting was so good in this one. I mean, even when they were drunk, Ross Marquand, I mean, he looked like he was legitimately drunk in that video. But so they're going back and forth with the Russian roulette game, and they're shooting each other, and then it goes through Aaron, and you see, and he's saying, who's it going to be? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your friend? And it goes back to Father Gabriel, and he shoots him. Then it's back on Ross Marquand, and I believe you hear Mays say that you can hear the bullet fall into the chamber, and he starts yelling at Aaron, saying, "Do you want to see your daughter again? Do you want and that's where Ross Marquand, yes, but that's where Aaron is going crazy, and he's like, ah, and just as he's about to shoot himself, you see Mays gets the gun right in his face. He's like, stop, full of drama. Oh my goodness. And he stops him, and he said, see, that's what I'm trying to show you, that there's just evil. There really is just evil. That was him trying to prove a point. My God, the tension in this episode, holy shit, is all I could. Wow, but so Aaron doesn't end up killing himself, and so Mays is, and I thought that was kind of a redemption arc. He stopped, forcing this on him. He goes to, untie Aaron, and he's putting the gun back down. while he's letting him loose, and it almost seems like there's a redemption arc that's about to happen, and then out of nowhere, here comes Father Gabriel with Aaron's hand, bam, bashes him in the head. I don't know about you guys, but I did not see that coming. That just wow. Um, so then the scene goes up, and this was kind of a sad scene. And they're going up into the attic, and immediately you see Father Gabriel was like, oh, like you knew something was dead up there. There was some rotting bodies or something, and I'm immediately thinking, oh my goodness, this isn't his family. Don't let their and sure enough, there was his brother's. You see the brother's daughter, and the brother is tied up. He's got all scraggly hair. His wife is also dead on the ground, and he looks crazy, and he's handcuffed by both hands. And Aaron and are going to free him, and Father Gabriel unhandcuffs one of his hand, and he ends up grabbing the gun from Father Gabriel, and then he's like threatening to shoot them, and then as he's kind of starting to bring it towards him, Father Gabriel's like, no, you come on, you don't want to do this, and ultimately he shoots himself, which is sad. But I mean, if you look at the scene, he was basically handcuffed and forced to watch his family die, which was absolutely horrible. And if there was a scene that we all saw in the trailer up above, going back to that, where there was a couple that was dead, looked like they were just holding each other, and there was someone tied up to a pole or something, and I'm assuming that Robert Patrick did that to them as well, that this person was forced to watch whoever that was dead on the bed, and this guy was tied up as a walker by that point, and he did the same thing to his brother. So Robert Patrick's character was really kind of crazy. But when you've seen the look that Aaron gave Father Gabriel after killing Maze, he was like, oh my, did he just do this? And that kind of makes me wonder, is he going to be able to trust Father Gabriel? Is their relationship damaged? That's going to be kind of weighing heavy on Aaron, because as you're going through the episode, you can see how all the death and destruction is really, really getting to Aaron. And I have a feeling that moment when he killed Maze, when he didn't have to, is really going to bother Aaron going forward. But now we come to another foreshadowing as we're leaving. They begin to leave the warehouse, and they're going out, and then the camera pans out, and you can see the water tower above the trees in the background, and they're saying one more. I don't know if they're gonna redo the water tower death. I mean, obviously Beta is gone. Maybe it could be the Reapers, which it looks like Maze was not the Pope, but as I was saying before, I don't believe that he was ever the Pope to begin with. And if you look at one of my previous videos, my person to be the Pope is actually Georgie, and I went kind of into that. I believe that she was the one who marked Maggie, because I mean, well, you can go watch the other video if you want to check it out, but I think we're going to find out that Georgie is the actual Pope. But so you see the water tower in the background, and this is foreshadowing. Maybe they don't do the exact death, but it does not look good for Father Gabriel going forward. I don't know what's going to happen, but the water tower is where they're going, and they got to go through those woods. What's going to be there? What are they going to find? All I know is I cannot wait for that episode. It's going to be amazing. I mean, if it was half as good as this, wow. Again, this episode 10, one of my favorites of all time. Top 10 easily. Absolutely amazing video. I want to know what you guys thought. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Next. Yeah, so just let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Did you love it as much as I did? I want to hear what you thought. Did you like the Dwayne Jones foreshadowing? Am I wrong in that? Did you like the water tower foreshadowing? Am I wrong in that aspect? Um, but one thing that I think that we can't really disagree on here is the performance by these three actors was absolutely amazing, and this definitely mirrors the type of performance that we saw in Clear. This was as good and as powerful as Lenny James and Andrew Lincoln, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. I love making this video. I love tonight's episode. I'm definitely going to probably watch that again. And as always, I like to give a shout out in all my videos to people that are my friends, that I just want to hype up and just give them a shout out and help uplift them. And for this video, I am going to uplift or give a shout out to Walker Wynn. I see her. She is on Twitter. She is on Instagram. She is on Facebook. You can find her, Walker Wynn. That's WYN. But her artwork is out of this world. And if you are not following her, if you don't, if on her platforms, be it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you are totally missing out. This artwork is absolutely amazing. I've got some myself. I'm going to show you a couple. Hopefully you can see this. I know. So what this is this is a metal print that she had created. This was, of course, the barn back in season 2 when the barn was caught on fire. This is right before they left to go to the prison. You see Rick and Lori and looks like Carl up in front. But what I love about this is what's said on it. The world we know is gone, but keeping our humanity, that's a choice. Of course, that's a quote by Dale. A great character. Another one that I got from her. This is the lineup. Of course, you see Negan and all of our family right there, TWD family. And the quote on here is just, he's just getting started. Well, actually, I'm sorry. The day will come when you won't be. And that's a throwback back to season 1, the final episode back in the CDC when Dr. Jenner and Rick are talking, and that was what Dr. Jenner had said to him. The day will come when you won't be, and he's talking about oh goodness, about losing people, but her artwork is absolutely amazing. Check her out, please. I will put her information down in the comments. She's easy to find, Walker Wynn. Follow her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your social medias are. Find her website. Get some of her artwork. You will not be sorry by getting this. These will be up on my wall later on. I'm gonna go get some frames and put them up. But yeah, check it out. And she has a lot more that are absolutely amazing. I highly recommend her. And thank you for watching. Love you guys. TWD family for life. And yeah, have a great night. Can't wait for that next episode.